But we are now joined on the program by the former general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Robinson.
Jared, what's up? Can you hear me, buddy?
We got you. How are you?
I'm outstanding. What's going on?
Okay, I want to start right off the top with the Titans and with you. Cam Ward, what do you make of it through 2 games? Some people around here want to say franchise quarterback. Are you buying the tea?
Yeah, listen, I think he's got a lot of great things going for him, right? I mean, I think if you look at when he's in the huddle and his command and the way he's passionately going through the play, I like to see that. I mean, he's enthusiastic. You know, he seems like every play is going to work for him when he calls it. The touchdown throw he made Sunday to Alec was impressive. I mean, it was out of pocket throw. He scrambled around. He did a lot of that in Miami. He's got a strong arm. I mean, he can throw fastballs. There's definitely a lot of promise there with Cam, and I think he's going to be an ascending player as he continues to grow in the league.
Okay, so today I started the show talking about draft picks and about how last year the Titans had the opportunity, reportedly, again, who knows, reportedly versus what's actually true, but reportedly they had the opportunity to trade for all those picks with the Giants to get Cam at number 1, and they chose Cam anyways. And everybody remembers the trade you made when you were general manager with the Rams. And yet you had a quarterback when you made that trade. So put yourself kind of in the shoes of the Titans at that point with Cam. Is it worth, when you've got the worst team in the league and you're picking number 1, is it worth not getting the haul that you got from the Rams trade to take the quarterback? And then how would you manufacture more picks down the road to build around the quarterback?
Yeah, that's a great question. The situation that I had when we came in, you nailed it. But we had Marcus in place, and I felt that we were more than one player away, and we needed to move back. And then we moved back up and got in ourselves in position to take Jack, and then several other players, that we yielded from that draft. But if you're convicted about a player, if you're convicted, and they obviously were with Cam, that he's the guy, then you take the player, right? And if you think that he's going to be the franchise quarterback and he's going to be the player for the future, that's the hardest position in football to find, and it's the most important position in football. So if you've got the guy staring you in the face, and you've got a chance to take him, like if there's, let's just say there's hypothetically there's 2 in this year's, the 2026 draft coming up. Like if you win enough games, which, kind of happened to us, it's hard to get back up in the top 10. Then you're mortgaging future draft picks to get yourself in position to get the quarterback. And like the Titans were this year, the Giants couldn't pry it away from them. There's a chance that you can't get that pick, even though like you've got enough picks to technically on paper, if you look at every trade scenario to get there, the team might not want to deal it. So, then you're sitting there and you still don't have a quarterback. So, they felt strongly about Cam, and so they took the pick.
When you watched Cam, did you see a first overall type of quarterback, a potential franchise quarterback?
He had a lot of cool traits. He did. I mean, I liked he had a lot of moxie to him. Like, I still don't know what the thing means, his little celebration thing when he throws a touchdown, but he's got some swagger to him. He's got some confidence to him. He throws a good ball. He can throw from the pocket. He can throw, the off schedule plays when he's moving to his right or to his left. He's got a lot of cool things, and, I think when you can build around him, like you're talking about, you got a chance to have something pretty special.
If you were the general manager of the Titans, would you look at your roster right now with Simmons, who, again, is under contract and is in his prime and is actually having a very productive season through 2 games? A guy like Calvin Ridley, who is probably a number 2 receiver, certainly not in that upper echelon of receivers. But would you be looking at the veteran players on your roster who are approaching 30 years old or are already 30 years old and be thinking about, okay, is it time to start dealing these guys to get picks in next year's draft?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? It's like, do you mortgage what you have currently for hypotheticals in the future? It's been widely publicized that I did that, right? And I think that you certainly have those conversations, and there's a lot of factors, and there's a lot of collaboration that goes into that. There's a lot of discussions that are had internally about players that are on your team, and if you make them available to other teams, what can you get for them? Certainly, there's probably a few players as you inch closer to the trade deadline that that may heat up. I don't know that anybody really jumps out to me that right now that you would say you would move on after week 2, right? Because when you start to move on from some of those players, other players on the roster is like, well, what are we doing? So those discussions are being had. I don't know that that's really something that teams are ready to kind of pull the trigger on right now.
Okay, so in that regard, when it comes to making those kind of decisions in 2016, did you expect that team was going to be 9-7 in 2016 when you inherited a 3-win football team?
I mean, I don't know. I knew that we wanted to get a bunch of guys in that were tough, that were going to play stylistically the way that we wanted to play football, the way that I envisioned how I wanted the team to play. And, we added guys like Ben Jones in free agency, guys like DeMarco Murray through a trade. And then we moved on from guys. I traded Dorial Green-Beckham for Dennis Kelly, and everybody wanted to run me out of town for that move. And then it ended up working out because Dennis ended up playing for us, and Dorial never really kind of took off. So you've got a way of what the vision and the types and style of player that you want on the team. And we did that in 2016, and guys bought in. Everybody talks about culture. Like, we established the culture pretty early on in 2016, and then certainly 2017 of how we were going to play. We wanted to be tough. We wanted to be physical. A lot of teams say that, but I think that we embodied that. We wanted to try to get it to the fourth quarter and then make it a street fight. And then, fortunately for us, we came away with, on the point side 9 times more than the other team.
So did you ever think early in that season, like, hey, maybe we can trade some veterans for more draft picks if we don't end up winning and being competitive at the end of the year? Or was it, hey, with Marcus at quarterback and with Kevin Byard and Taylor Lewan and some of those younger guys on the team, let's try to be as competitive as possible for those young players?
Yeah, I think for me, like when we went into that season, like I wanted to see, you look at it on tape and then you're around the guys once you get the job and you see how those guys interact with each other. How do they go about their daily preparation to go do their job? I wanted to get to know those guys, right? And like, we had some guys that were still playing pretty well, and we were competitive in games, and we were close. So I really wasn't ready that first season, outside of training camp when we made the move with Kelly, because we needed a third tackle. Byron Bell was going to be our third tackle, and he hurt his ankle in OTAs, and we needed another tackle. Outside of that move, like, I really wanted to kind of see how the team was going to come together. We still had some guys. I mean, there were some guys on 1-year deals, but there were some guys that had a couple years left on their deals. I want to see how it's going to come together, and then once, you pick up a win here, you pick up a win there. It's like, all right, well, maybe we got a chance. Like, I don't want to dismantle it, kind of mid-run here, if you will. And, it ended up working out for us. And then it springboarded us on to have, several winning seasons in a row.
How much did you think about the next year's draft during that season? Because you did have the Rams pick, which was going to be a high pick. It ended up being Corey Davis. But how much of it were you looking forward to? Okay, I like some of the guys I've picked this year. I like Conklin. I like Byard. I like Henry. I like some of those guys. And I got Mariota at quarterback. But next year, because it does look like the Titans are probably going to have a top pick this upcoming season. And I do wonder what that high pick is going to do for Cam.
Yeah, you're constantly, I mean, the scouts are always working a year ahead, realistically. Like, so once the 2016 draft was over, we were working on the 2017 draft, and that summer, and we were going to training camps around colleges, and you're already starting to kind of stack your board and kind of see who those premium players are. Like, who are the top 10 or 15 players, regardless of position, that if we have traded a pick and, that team ends up having a bad season, because that plays into it too. It's like, who are you trading them to? Who's because if you're trading kind of in the back of the round, I mean, if you're picking 28, 29, 30, that's essentially, I mean, it's a first round pick. You get the 5th-year option, but it's really second roundish, if you will. So you're looking at that, but yeah, you're definitely looking ahead to the next year's draft, the crop of players that are going to be available. What are the needs of our team? Like, whose contracts are expiring? Who might we move on from? Can we replace those guys via the draft? Does it look like we've got some guys positioned up there to kind of fill those spots, or we're going to have to spend some money in free agency and go target guys that way?
So if you were running the Titans, would you be thinking about next season, or would you be
I don't run the Titans anymore, Jared.
Have you ever thought about the next season 2 games into a season?
That was always a little early for me.
And
that was always a little early for me.
I do wonder how many general managers around the league, like I was talking about Joe Shane in New York, and I'm like, I'd call him right now, because does he even look at his picks next year and think, like, I'll be using those picks because they're 0-2. The owner has kind of put them on the hot seat. And so I'm wondering, like, if I'm the Titans, I pick up the phone and I call Joe Shane and I say, hey, would you have any interest in any of my veteran players? Would he be looking at it thinking like, well, you know what? Screw my future draft picks, because I probably won't use them if we don't start winning anyways. That's what I would want to do.
Yeah, it's like when you're selling a house and there's a leak underneath, and if they're not going to get it inspected, like, you just let it ride, like, you're not going to fix it. So maybe, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm good friends with Joe, and I mean, hopefully they get it turned around up there. But to your point, they better get going pretty quick.
What do you see when it comes to Cam that would make you, if you were just evaluating him and you were saying, okay, here's what I like, here's what I'd like to see next for a young quarterback, what would it be?
Yeah, I think his again, I've never met him, just kind of watched him from afar. It looks like his leadership traits and his ability to kind of rally his teammates, like, it looks like he's off to a really great start there. I mean, I love that about him, and that's an important part of the quarterback position. I think he's got plenty of arm strength, and he can stretch the field. He physically can make all the throws. I think some of the timing routes and the ability to layer throws over coverage, sometimes you got to take a little bit off of it to get it over a linebacker or get it over a hang safety to try to drop it in there. Like, you don't have to drive everything. There's a little bit of a touch and feel with some of those throws. Not everything has to be on a rope. So just continuing to work on those components of his game. But, I love the arm talent. I love the mobility. I don't necessarily say he's a runner per se, and I don't want to compare him to Patrick, over in Kansas City, but Patrick can make kind of some of those off-platform, off-schedule throws and altering arm angles, much like Cam, and Cam can kind of do some of those same things.
So what would you be looking for from him to take the next step?
Again, those things, just continuing to work on. It's a new cast of characters, right? Like, he's never really thrown to these guys in a live game setting. He's had 2 weeks to throw to his core receivers in a live setting. So continuing to kind of get on the same page with those guys, know that if the guy's supposed to be, if he's got a cut split and he's supposed to be, fifth, he's sticking the top of his route at 15, and I'm letting the ball go before he turns around, developing that trust with those pass catchers to let it ride. And the pass catcher's got to do his job. If he's got to turn around, if he's got to stick it at 15 and come back to 13, well, then that's his job. Like, I got to let it go when he gets to 15 and he got to turn around. So just continuing those relationships and that timing with his pass catchers.
I have one more on the Titans for you. Titans fans are freaking out about the offensive line. They've spent a lot, both in the draft and in free agency, on the offensive line. I remember in 2019 when Taylor Lewan was suspended and Roger Saffold had been signed, and the offensive line, and Nate Davis got hurt, and the offensive line struggled at the beginning of the season. By the end of the season, it was probably one of the better offensive lines in the league. You rebuilt the offensive line in 2016, whether it was claiming Josh Klein off of waivers or drafting Jack Conklin or signing Ben Jones. I do not believe that it is fair to judge an O-line coach or an offensive line through 2 games, because I don't think they get to practice anymore. I mean, we don't wear pads as often. We don't have two-a-days. We barely play in the preseason. I think offensive line is about communication, cohesion, physicality, and the only way to get those things done is to play. So I am giving them some leeway there. Is it fair to judge an offensive line in today's NFL in 2 games?
Yeah, I think you make a great point, Jared. The most important thing about the offensive line is those 5 guys playing in sync with each other, right? You're only as strong as the weakest link. Not to use that analogy, but defenses are going to find out where the weak link is in your offensive line, and they're going to try to exploit it. So it's not necessarily having 5 Pro Bowlers up there. I mean, I remember when we were in New England, we had Matt Light. We won a lot of Super Bowls with guys like Matt Light, Logan Mankins, Danny Copen, Stephen Neal, Sebastian Vollmer. I think Logan's a great player. Mankins was a great player. Matt Light may have been to 1 Pro Bowl, but like the other 3 guys they were good, solid players. And they worked together as a group. They were all on the same page communication-wise. They knew where they were supposed to be. I think one thing that I was on a call yesterday, kind of a league call with a bunch of guys that are out, and Mike Martz was on the call, the old coach. And he brought up a point about pass protections and the carryover from the college game and how it's kind of transcended into the pro game. So it sparked a thought on me, and I did a little research. So in 2006, when PFF started tracking pass protections, 50% of the pass protections were 5-man protections, which is just the 5 offensive linemen blocking. And the other 50% were 6-man plus. So the backs involved, the tight ends involved, whatever it may be. So 50-50. In 2023 and to date, in 2020, 2023, and it's on track in 2025, it's more 70-30. So 70% of the pass protections are just those 5 guys blocking with no real help from a running back or a tight end. So it went from 50-50 to now 70-30, which is really what you see in the college game. So more onus has been put on offensive linemen to block those defensive ends, defensive tackles, and those guys have gotten bigger, faster, stronger, and they're not giving them any help, right? And Mike made the point yesterday. It just seems like we've kind of, and I'm not saying you got to go back and run the wishbone, I'm not trying to say that, but like if you can give the quarterback some help with protections by changing it up a little bit so that teams don't know that if you're only blocking 5 guys, but they're going to scheme up something to block 5 guys to beat your 5 guys blocking. It's like the philosophy has changed from, hey, let's make the defense guess because we're 50-50 to let's get more guys out en route so the quarterback has more guys to throw the ball to. Well, if the quarterback's getting hit, he can't throw the ball. So there's got to be kind of a common ground there. I found it interesting as I kind of dove into the stats there, just about the shift in the amount of people deployed as pass catchers versus the amount of people, that were kept at the line of scrimmage to try to protect the guy throwing the ball.
John Robinson's with us. I want to hit through some just GM thoughts with you. Number 1, where are you on Arch Manning? There was so much hype going into that Ohio State game, and he did not meet that hype. And his last name is Manning, and he's huge. And sometimes when I see him throw the ball in warmups, it looks like I'm watching Peyton, with the mannerisms. But at the same time, wasn't very good, and they haven't been very good in the 2 games since. Where are you on Arch?
Yeah, it's off to a rough start, right? I mean, I do think there's a lot of ability there. I mean, he hadn't played a whole lot. And it's like, and unfortunately, that's where we're at, as a society. It's like we're in this microwave mode, right, where you just want to put it in there, bake it, and come out, and you've got a T-bone steak and mashed potatoes. Like, it takes time to play the position, and it takes live game reps. You can look great at practice, when the defensive line is rushing half speed, 3/4 speed, whatever it may be. But like, he just needs to play. I think all the tools are there. I think he's got a ton of upside. He just got to play more, He just got to play more. But I would agree with you. Right now, it's not looking too sporty.
Tonight, we have Thursday Night Football, Dolphins and Bills. It looks like Miami is headed for what may be another reset button. It feels like it's a disaster as far as the coach is concerned there. Some of the personnel decisions they've made, not very good. Who knows about Tua? What do you make of the Dolphins and how bad they've been and where they're headed?
Yeah, I know Chris Greer down there very well. He's a good friend of mine. And listen, it happens, right? And you're right. It doesn't look too good. Like I don't know when the press conference was when Mike got up there and said you got to win the game, you can't lose the game, and you're trying to move the ball to try to win the game. And I was like, what is this gibberish? So it's and they got a tough one tonight. It's in Buffalo, Jared?
Yes.
Yeah. So it looks like it's probably going to be 0-3.
Buffalo is 11.5-point favorite.
Yeah, that may be light. I'm not a gambler, but like it may be light. But it's not. It's there's been better times in Miami. I don't think the 72 team has got anything to worry about.
What do you think of Vrabel in New England?
Yeah, I mean, they dropped one early, and then, they've got it going. They got it going down there in Miami. It looked like there was a punt return I think New England Miami ran a punt return back, and then New England ran a kickoff return back. So it was a little bit of a special teams back and forth there. Listen, he's got the way he's going to coach it. Smart, tough, dependable, know what to do, play fast and aggressive. I'm sure he's using all the same, kind of lingo he did here. I think he's a hell of a football coach. Wish him nothing but the best up there. Got a good young quarterback, looks like.
So put yourself in the shoes of Cincinnati, and you just got the owner to pay all that money to keep Trey Hendrickson. You've paid all that money for Chase and Higgins, and Joe Burrow's making a bunch of money. And for what feels like the third, fourth season in a row, Joe Burrow's hurt again. Again, kind of a freak deal here with the turf toe injury, but he's going to be out for 3 months. That's pretty much the entire season. Are you on the phone trying to get another quarterback in there? Are you going to say, hey, we ride with Jake Browning? Or do you just bury yourself in a hole? What do you do?
I would probably go with option 3, just find the closest hole and bury myself. I mean, Joe Burrow, he's out. Your season's probably toast. I would say it's 85% roasted. Unless, the year that Brady got hurt early in the season and Matt Castle came in, we actually won 11 games. Matt did a great job. And we still didn't make the playoffs. So, maybe they catch lightning in a bottle with Jake, but you lost arguably the best. I think he's the best quarterback in the pro game. If not, he's certainly in the top 3. And you're right. You've allocated a lot of resources to pass catchers. The offensive line hadn't been good. It hasn't been good. And you suffice Trey Hendrickson by trying to, everybody was on, well, they don't do it in Shamar, the pass rusher. He held out. So they finally kind of came and got it all together. And now your quarterback. So you're done. You're done.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I don't know exactly what's your definition of franchise quarterback?
That's a great question. I think he embodies everything. I came up in New England. I was around the best who I think ever played the game in Tom, and his ability to make decisions. First you've got to get the offense in the right play, right? The coordinator or the head coach, whoever calls the plays, they send the play in, and there's usually one play, maybe 2, and then there's a can. So you've got a pre-snap ID, right? So when you come to the line, you're going with the main play, and you're using your cadence, you're using motions, you're using shifts to try to move the defense around and get a tell to see what the defense is going to do. Once you think you have an idea of what the defense is going to do, you either keep the play on if it's going to work, or you change the play and get yourself into a play that you think will work. All right. And then once you do that, you got to get the snap, you got to find the open receiver, and you got to deliver an accurate ball. And you got to make good decisions with the football, taking care of the football, being accurate, making good decisions. And then there's a leadership component in there too, right? When you step into the huddle and call a play, if you don't call it with some piss and vinegar and it's 3rd and 7 and, you're in the whatever, you're playing for the playoffs or you're playing for the Super Bowl. If you go in there and it's wah, 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 how are you going to get your teammates to stand in there and block for you or get somebody to go open? That's one thing I love about Cam. He's passionate. It looks like he's passionate when he calls plays. So the teammates believe in that guy. So you got to have a component of that. And at the end of the day, it's about winning, right? You can have all the stats you want, but if you don't produce wins, then it's hard to say that you're a franchise guy.
So I feel like Baker Mayfield crossed the Rubicon on Monday night. His tackles were out going up against the third pick in the draft on one edge and a $19 million guy on the other edge. His special teams tried to give away the game with a punt block and a punt return, and he gets the ball, 2-minute drill, and Emeka Ibuka drops the ball on 3rd and 10, and Baker scrambles on 4th and 10, picks up 15, moves him right down the field, scores a touchdown. It really felt like he put the team on his back. I know he's had his ups and downs, Cleveland and Carolina and the Rams, but I do think Baker Mayfield, it's taken him a while. I think he's officially a franchise quarterback. Monday night was kind of the moment for me where I'm like, no, he's no longer in that kind of middle tier group. He's more towards the top. Do you agree with that assessment?
I 100% agree with that. And I mean, you named them. Like, there's a lot of teams that told that guy no, right? They said, no, you're not good enough. And like, he finally got the opportunity and he landed with a team that it just clicked. And sometimes it takes a while, especially for that position. But I think he's gritty. I think he's accurate. I think he's tough as nails. I 100% agree that he is a franchise quarterback, and Jason's got himself a good one down there.
Okay, I have 3, I don't want to call them revisionist history questions, but 3 rear view mirror questions, if I may. Number 1, you already brought up the DGB Dennis Kelly trade, which, by the way, people were very, very upset with, but ended up being a pretty good trade. The day before you made that trade, you spoke at the Rotary Club or the whatever it was club.
Holy smokes.
Do you remember that?
No.
I remember you said that when you learned that being a general manager was when you had to measure the size of your desk drawers or something. And I was like, man, this is really interesting. But
no, I think I said you generally manage a lot of stuff.
And then you talked about the size of your desk drawers. And you and Floyd talked at that Rotary, for 5 minutes, maybe not even that. Floyd went on the air that day and just trashed DGB. Did you give him a heads up that you were going to trade Dorial Green Beckham? Because he trashed him, and he never did that when he was on the air.
I did not. I love Floyd. Sally's awesome. I didn't tip off. I mean, I usually held the cards pretty close to the vest, Jared.
I mean, he trashed him. So then he foreshadowed it perfectly. Number 2, was Tom Brady ever a possibility in 2020? You go to the AFC title game with Ryan Tannehill. You beat Tom Brady on the way to the AFC title game with Ryan Tannehill. But then there was the question of where's Brady going to go? The Titans constantly mentioned. You ended up re-signing Tannehill. Was Tom Brady ever a possibility during that offseason?
I think somebody, maybe in you, like even said you had like a tail number on a helicopter or something that he was on, and he was flying over NBA or.
So I actually got suspended. The one time that I got suspended in the 10 years that I was on the radio station, I got suspended for calling the Predators head coach Baldy. I got suspended for the 2 days that all went down, where they said that Brady and Giselle were touring NBA. So that had nothing to do with me.
Well, again, you're looking at all the players, right? But that year, if you go back and look at the numbers, like Tannehill had the highest QBR rating of all the quarterbacks. He outplayed every quarterback in pro football that year. And listen, like Tom's a great quarterback. I'm glad we had Tannehill. I'm glad we re-signed Tannehill. He's a great dude. I think he's an outstanding player. So no, we didn't. You talk about all the players, but like at the end of the day, it was Tannehill.
Okay, and then last one for you. Actually, I have one more after this. I'm sorry. When people ask you what happened with Marcus, what is your answer? Because if you thought, and I'm sure you did all your homework on Marcus because the year before you guys had the number 1 pick and you drafted Jameis Winston and Marcus was in the. If you thought Marcus was absolutely awful, I don't think you would have taken the job, even though there are only 32 of these and you only get so many. So and plus all the moves you made leading up to that looked like you believed in Marcus. So when somebody says what happened with Marcus, what was the lesson you learned from that?
Well, we were constantly trying to improve the backup position. Like if you think about what we did, like, so we signed Cass, and like Cass was great for us. And then we signed Gabbert, And we were trying to get, just a little younger, maybe you have to run around a little bit. And we thought Blaine gave us that. And then we traded for Tannehill. I think with Marcus, he was a captain. I mean, he embodied the captain stuff, right? Everything that you're looking for in a captain, he embodied that. I think he broke his ankle the first year, and then it was just an injury thing, right? It's just like he just kept getting injured, and it's hard to build a team around who you think is going to be your franchise, because he played 1 year in the league, right? And I knew we were going to need to run the ball. We were going to need to fix the offensive line. We were going to need to run the football, right? The quarterback's best friend is an offensive line and being able to run the football, because it takes a lot of pressure, because now you're bringing more guys into the box to try to stop whoever you're going to hand it off to, which at the time was DeMarco and Derek. And it loosens up the coverage. So the quarterback has bigger windows to throw the ball, and guys have more space to get open. So that was our intent when we went in. And then he just kind of got the injury bug. And it was like, we continue to try to build around, but he gets hurt, and then you go into the offseason, you try to go around, and then he gets hurt. And then, the Denver game, it wasn't good. And, I think we were 0-for to start the season. And it was like, we just try to change something up and get a spark. And Tannehill came in and sparked us. And I think that's the year we ran to the AFC Championship game.
Okay, the last one I do want to know, and this is such a nerdy question from me, but I've thought about this for years.
You're not nerdy, Jared. Don't degrade yourself.
I think a lot of people forget this, but right before the COVID shutdowns and the free agency and everything, there was an option. The CBA had not been agreed to, and there was an option for 2 tags. So you could have used a franchise tag and a transition tag. In a normal offseason, you can just use 1 tag, either a franchise tag or the much less used transition tag. Were you going to use the 2 tags on Conklin and Henry prior to the NFL, like the day before free agency opening up, saying you only get 1 tag, which you used on Derrick Henry?
Was that? Oh, so that was the 19 season.
After the 19, yes.
Yeah. So Tannehill was up and Derek was up.
Yes, and Conklin
and Jack was up. No, the intent was to extend Tannehill. And I mean, we tried on Jack. We just couldn't come to kind of an agreement on the comp. And but those 3 guys were at the top of the heap, right? It was Derek, and we had a lot of guys, but it was Derek, it was Tannehill, Jack, and then we weren't going to use the 2 tags. It was try to get long-term deals. The Derek one took longer than it should have. But we were able to extend both Ryan and Derek on long-term deals.
The YouTube chat is saying, why no AJ questions? You've already been asked the AJ question. You've already
answered a million times, Jared.
How much do you get asked about AJ just day to day?
Oh, I don't really see anybody. So it didn't really come up. I mean, I don't live in that hole we talked about earlier, but like, it's not like I'm walking around, Whole Foods or Target or something, and somebody walks up to me and is like, tell me about that AJ Brown trade. That doesn't really happen.
I mean, I always talk about moves like that, and I'm like, man, I favored the move because I believed in the Patriot way back then, and I thought that was a Patriot way. That was a Lawyer Malloy out, Rodney Harrison in move, and it didn't work. And I always feel like, the thing about those jobs is if those moves don't work, then when you make that kind of move, hey, this is a big swing, and if it doesn't work, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, you could be on Stillman and Company from your home office.
There you go.
During the season.
John Robinson, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, that was a Floyd Reese. I'm not in ball anymore, but I still can coach it as always. J-Rob, thank you so much for your time, buddy. Take care of yourself.
Great to see you, brother.
Yep. John Robinson joining us on the program here on Stillman and Company.